The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Barry G. Fowler, EA, brings you Tax Talk for You right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. As an enrolled agent and a national leader in tax resolution, as well as trucker, bookkeeping, and tax planning with over 30 years of experience, Barry will break down taxes, bookkeeping, tax planning, and tax relief for individuals and businesses just like you. So let's have some Tax Talk for You with your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome and great Monday morning. It's great to be here and talking taxes, business success, trucking. Here at Tax Talk for You, we try to get the information out so people can either be in business and be successful, or find ways to reduce taxes. All of this is what we cover here every week, Mondays, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you're here, it's because, hey, you're wanting to learn more and get more insight. We do a lot with truckers at Trucker Tax Tools. And if you're a trucker owner-operator, you can go to truckertaxtools.com and see the different plans that we have available to help you be successful in your business. Because if you're an owner operator, you are in business. And that means, you've got to look at it and run it like a business. I always look, and one of the biggest things that I look at is the success rate. There's a lot of truckers that get into the business within the first 2 years. 85% will fail because they don't have the money to be in business. There's a lot of different things in being an owner operator that you've got to be aware of for financial success. They talk about the cash flow trap. Having money in the bank is more important than having loads on your board. That is kind of true, because you should be able to pick and choose your loads. And if you're not dependent on taking loads at whatever the cost is that you're going to be able to charge, you can then be selective. Take the loads that are going to make you the most money. And realize that is part of being successful. Most of the truck drivers that we work with that are successful, they've been in business for 3, 4, 5, 10 years. They've been with us many, many years. And, they've set aside money for, repairs, maintenance. They've set aside or paid estimated taxes. So, they are prepared in business. Now, they've also gotten to the point where, they know what their loads need to be running and what the freight rate needs to be successful. Why take a load that you're going to lose money just for the cash? And that's why that cash flow trap can really hurt you in the business, because you're just running your trucks and you're running to death. And next thing you know, you don't have the money to do the repairs because you're now down, because you're running the truck and not making the money to do that. We've also seen where people just have the just drive mentality. You go from a company driver to owner operator, you kind of shift your mindset. Success demands more than excellent driving skills. I mean, yes, you got to have excellent driving skills to be in the trucking business, But it requires, you got to develop that business owner's perspective. You know, the most successful owner operators that we know spend as much time working on their business as they do in their truck, developing strategies, analyzing markets, and planning for growth. You know, planning, what is the next step? Is it just me in this truck? Do I get my own authority? Do I expand? And we can apply that to any business out there. You know, if it's just you running your business can only be as big as you and the amount of time that you have. Yeah, you can raise prices and take fewer clients and be able to have more time. But if you have more people working for you, with you, then, hey, you might be able to grow that business to being bigger, more locations, things like that can happen. In the trucking business, it may be adding more trucks. You know, we've seen a couple of businesses that we've known, and matter of fact, we met these guys at Truck to Success, a seminar put on by OOIDA, Owner Operator Independent Drivers Association. And when he was there, they were just getting started. And now 3.5 years since then, he has grown to not only running his father's trucking business that has 4 or 5 trucks running for them. He's running his own trucking business with another 5 to 7 trucks running for him, and helping manage another trucking business that has many trucks running for them. So you can see the success can be there, but he planned for the success and the growth, analyzing the markets and developing strategies to make his business bigger, stronger. And when the market rates have gone down, he's learned how to be successful within that market in monitoring his costs. You know, there's a lot of times there are hidden costs that you as an owner operator or as a business owner don't plan for. You know, you got to understand as an owner operator, what is your true cost per mile? It's not just about fuel and maintenance. You know, every mile that you drive carries 10, 20, 30, 50 different cost components, from depreciation to insurance, permit fees, to parking costs. You know, all those costs go along with it. You know, successful owner operators track these expenses. They use the bookkeeping that we can provide. It gives them detailed information to be able to take those expenses that we meticulously detail out and put it into the cost per mile worksheet and figure out what their fixed cost is per mile for that truck just doing nothing but sitting there, to their moving cost per mile. So you've got to have that ability to know what it's going to take to be successful. You know, one of the big things that I see is out there, and, you know, sometimes we're looking at people and going, hey, you just got started in business, and, you know, you don't need to have the biggest, brightest, shiniest, newest truck out there. If you got an ego of equipment, then, hey, that gleaming new truck, it could look impressive, but it also can be that ball and chain that slows your business down. Maybe you purchased it at the wrong time or for the wrong reasons. You know, smart operators, you're going to choose equipment that matches your business model and revenue potential, and maintaining that careful balance between reliability and cost. You know, I get calls all the time. Hey, should I buy this new truck? Well, we sit down and we have the conversation. What's the difference in fuel mileage? What's the difference in reliability? Is your truck having problems? What's going on? We look at your net income. We look at revenues coming in. Does it make sense at this juncture to go out and buy that new piece of equipment? And, I saw a client of ours that called us one day, and they were pretty successful in business. They were running and gunning and making pretty good money, but they went out and bought a $300,000 new rig, shiny and bright and nice and new. Hey, that was taking a toll because of the expense of financing and the costs of financing that rig became the heavy anchor, burden, ball and chain that just almost put the death nail into their business. And they had to figure out ways to work around it. So having an ego and buying the brightest, shiniest, new, and most expensive rig doesn't always make sense. Build your reserves. Plan for replacements based on your business needs, not on an emotional want. It's kind of like, going out and buying a vehicle. The salesman's going to tell you, you want this, you need this. There's a difference between a want and a need. I don't need a new vehicle. And therefore, if you don't meet my price and what I want it for, we're not going to do the deal. It's not worth my time. It's not worth my effort. Hey, we're going to keep talking about business success and how truckers, owner-operators, and business owners plan and make their businesses successful. And we'll do that right after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for You. If you owe the IRS or are going through an IRS audit, don't go at it alone. Call Taxation Solutions Tax Relief at 888-930-1016. We are your solution for IRS debts, audits, back taxes, garnishments, liens, and levies. Whether you're an individual or business, you need a solution and a strong, aggressive tax resolution. Don't let the IRS walk all over you. Stop the IRS now. Call 888-930-1016 or go to taxationsolutions.net now for a free, no obligation consultation. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. We're talking about things that make you unsuccessful in your business as an owner, operator, truck driver, even any small business that's out there. And one of the things that we do see is inadequate insurance. And, your coverage lacks quality. That can destroy your business as well. One single incident could be the nail in the coffin. You have to understand that proper coverage isn't just about meeting the minimum requirements. It's about protecting your business's future. You should review your coverage with industry specialized agents and adjust your policies as your operations continue to evolve and grow. That's something that you've got to always be looking at. Is your coverage adequate for the equipment, for what you're doing, the type of job, and the loads that you are running? And the same thing with business. What kind of coverage do you need for the business type you're in? And then we see, and we talk about all the time at Truck to Success with OOIDA, is the rate race. Taking loads without understanding your profit margins and your cost per mile. It's like driving a truck blindfolded, not knowing, are you making money off of these loads? You know, you as an owner operator, as a businessman, should know your costs precisely and then be able to negotiate your rates that ensure that you're going to be profitable, not just meeting your payments on your insurance or your payments on your equipment. It's being successful, making money for yourself so you can pay yourself from that load. And sometimes running empty miles are better than unprofitable ones. And don't be afraid to decline loads that don't make any business sense. We've seen the competition out there taking loads and driving rates down, and things like that happen because somebody's willing to take a load for far less than what would make them successful in business. And it undercuts everybody, and it undercuts the whole market rates that are out there. So, watch your rates. Be willing to decline a load because the rate doesn't match. That's something that you should really consider. Now, one thing that we see, especially when you're new in business, you're not ready for taxes. See, you're an owner operator, you're a business owner. Most likely when you first start out, even if you set up an LLC, you're filing on a Schedule C, which means the net profit from the business is taxed to you for Social Security, Medicare, federal income tax, state income tax, and you're not ready. April comes and all of a sudden it's financial terror. You should have some year-round tax planning, regular estimated tax payments, keeping meticulous bookkeeping records to help you maintain your successful operations. Smart owner operators, you're going to work with a great tax professional like us at Trucker Tax Tools. And we understand the trucking industry, and we ensure that you're going to take advantage of every deduction available to you in your business and maintain compliance and be notified what your estimated tax payments are supposed to be. So, avoid the tax surprise. Get with the Trucker Tax Tools today, 877-996-2477, or go to truckertaxtools.com. Hey, great new year pricing available for you right now. Just give us a call or go to truckertaxtools.com and we can schedule a time to talk to you wherever it may be. So, some of the things that you need to also consider is don't mix business and personal finance. It's a recipe for disaster. It's not a natural disaster. That's a man-made disaster that you caused. Being a professional business owner operator, you should maintain strict separation between business and personal expenses, accounts. You pay yourself a regular salary, or if it's a Schedule C, you make a regular distribution to your personal account to pay your personal bills. Build both a emergency fund for both you personally and the business. Because if the business takes a downturn, it ends up affecting you personally. And having stability in your business means having good cash flow and having reserves available to maintain your business. So you're not going to avoid every mistake. You're going to be learning from what your mistakes are. You can learn from other people's mistakes, experiences, and then build the system to manage those risks for such things as maintenance, repairs, maintain reserves, know your costs precisely. invest in ongoing education, embrace technology, and plan for future challenges. Hey, one way you can do that and staying up to date is get a hold of OIDA's Landline magazine. And in that magazine, you will also see that I write Trucking and Taxes. Great articles in there. It's all about you and trucking. This last article we just wrote was talking about year-end tax planning. And then the most recent issue is going to be taxes for 2026 and things you can do to start saving money for yourself as an owner-operator. Now, we're going to talk across the board, being a small business owner. Not just applying this to truckers, but applying this to yourself as a business owner, whether you run a restaurant, whether you're running a retail place, whether you're doing consulting, whether you're into, let's say, speech therapy, running a daycare, it doesn't matter. A lot of these things apply across the board to each and every industry that's out there. And so there are key strategies for success as a business owner. And some of this is going to, come from, what are the mistakes people make? Now we're going to talk about how do you fix those so that you don't have those mistakes. Financial discipline. You need to calculate your exact costs, fixed cost, variable costs. What is it costing you to run your business even when there's nothing going on? So if you're in, let's say, a consulting business and you have nothing, but you have staff, you have certain fixed costs. Employees. If you've got an office space. Electricity. Things like that are costs that you're going to have. If you have financing, interest, loan payments, you got to know what your exact outgo is going to be. And you can figure that out. If you are in a truck and you're an owner operator, it's cost per mile, your fixed cost per mile, and then your variable cost per mile. Fixed cost is if that truck is just sitting and you're doing nothing, it still has costs. Your variable cost is when that truck is out there on the road. And then you got to be able to figure out then, what is my minimum rate I need to be profitable? And as we said before, separating personal and business accounts. If you haven't done it, do it immediately. Get it done today. You never want to mix business and personal in any way, shape, or form. Get it done. Be on top of it. Hey, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to keep talking about key strategies to be successful in a business. And we're going to do that right after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for You. As an owner-operator, you already spend too much time away from your family. Trucker Tax Tools handles all your bookkeeping and taxes no matter what level trucker you are. Life on the road can be taxing, but that doesn't mean that your wallet or time with your family should suffer. Trucker Tax Tools makes your life run smoothly. Go to truckertaxtools.com for a free guide that will give you the tools to never worry about your taxes again. Call Trucker Tax Tools 877-966-2477 or go to truckertaxtools.com now and let the experts keep you trucking. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, Here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. We're talking about keys to success for your business, owner, operator, trucking, small business, growing business, whatever it may be. And we talk about, equipment reliability. Nobody in any type of business, whether you're using computers to do things, laptops, iPads, tractor, trailers, your rig, it's got to be reliable. The equipment, the worst thing you can have is downtime. I mean, we had downtime the other week because even though our internet has been mostly reliable, the internet went down. Well, there wasn't much we can do without internet, especially when your phones are internet based, your software that you're running is internet based. It really puts a kink into your life and to business that day. If your truck and rig goes down, hey, you can't pull a load. You'd have to go out and rent a tractor just to finish pulling a load and then get back to wherever you left the truck if you're in the middle of doing that. So you need to make sure you got reliable equipment, fuel efficient equipment if you're in the trucking business, because fuel is one of the major expenses that you're going to have. So, we always talk about it, and at the Truck to Success, I've heard OIDA Foundation talking about, aiming for 8.5 miles per gallon, because that is kind of the sweet spot, or better if you can get better. Anything less than that really impacts your profits and your profitability. So, make sure you got good, reliable equipment. Make sure it's something that, isn't going to be breaking down and you're going to be able to stay on the road. Now, we talk about in every business operational efficiency. Whether you've got staff working for you, they got to be efficient to maintain profitability. If somebody's taking way too long on a job to get bookkeeping done or taxes done or gather information, it puts a huge kink into the pocketbooks of the business. It's just a complete cash outlay. And now you're losing money because you don't have that operational efficiency. Same with being an owner or operator. You're prioritizing safe, on-time delivery to build trust with your customers. You're going to focus on total revenue over just the rate per mile to ensure consistent, reliable cash flow. And it's the same with business. You're going to prioritize total revenue over just getting by. Granted, if you're in a retail store, there's some things you've got to move because it's taking up shelf space. And shelf space can become expensive if something is sitting there. So sometimes it's just about moving it to get it out, to get something new that's better, bigger, shinier, that people will buy more. Business growth. Growing too fast. Adding more locations, adding more trucks. You need to perfect the one-stop shop, the one truck first. Get it profitable and get your systems in place for what you're needing to do and what you can do before you start scaling and expanding your business. So if you're just starting with one truck, get operational efficiencies in place before you start to scale. Expanding and growth is great, but controlled expansion and controlled growth profitably is what the dream should be. Now, along with that, mitigate your risks. We talked about insurance. We talked about emergency funds, things that you need to be able to help cash flow in that downtime when that risk does happen. So you got to be prepared. Emergency fund, business and personal, is the way to go. Now, what are some of the key habits and some of the key tips we're going to give you? One, as every business owner should be, maintain, keep the proactive mindset, meaning make sure you got repairs, general maintenance on your truck. Keep that up to date so that you can maybe avoid some of the breakdowns. Check your computer equipment. Make sure you have antivirus on your computer equipment. Check out your systems. Be proactive in everything that you're doing for business. Now, we also tell people in business, small business people, is develop a network. Build relationships with your clients. Build relationships with your brokers. Build relationships with shippers. And maybe you'll find better and more consistent loads. Maybe you'll have somebody that will give you preferred loads because you have that relationship. Maybe in business, you have a supplier. Maybe you might find another supplier that could give you better prices on the goods that you have and that you're offering in your business, or somebody that would provide you better leads. So you're developing that network and building those relationships to help you grow and understand and make your business better. Now, I've heard a story before. Well, hey, you walk in and you've got a shipper who likes you. You go in, you get to know him. Hey, Johnny over here has a kid playing baseball. You come in and you remember about his kid, and maybe you remember his kid's name, Johnny Jr., and you ask, hey, how did his games go this week? How's he doing in baseball? Or FFA on the ranch, whatever it may be. You develop that personal relationship with your supplier, with your shipper, with your broker. And now you're getting the preferred loads because they like you. You have that personal relationship with him or her that makes them interested in not just you, but they know you're interested in them. And you now have a relationship that, people are not going to take lightly. Because you took an interest in them, they're going to take an interest in you. Now, one of the things we talked about was understanding the market, keeping up to date. Hey, that Landline magazine is one way you might be able to stay up to date. See what's happening in industry trends. Don't forget to listen to Tax Talk for you every Monday at 10 a.m. or see us on Facebook or YouTube, or catch one of our podcasts over at iHeart. Don't ever miss an episode. And if you do happen to, get over there to iHeart or any of the other Spreaker, you name it. And you can find our podcast at Tax Talk, the number 4, the letter U.com is a great place to go to get them right there. But you got to understand the market. You got to understand what is happening in your industry. And, if you're in maybe the childcare industry, you would have subscribed to one of the associations that are in childcare, retail, restaurants. There's Restaurants Association, retail associations, you name it, they have associations for it. And those things and those associations help people stay up to date on what's happening in the industry. What are the trends? What's changing in your industry? What freight is making more money, and where could you be making more money? And, maybe you decide you need a new endorsement, hazardous materials, whatever it may be. It might be something that you would want to do for yourself as well. One of the things, we were at the Mid-American Trucking Show, and we used to go there every year. The show, in my opinion, wasn't doing as well for us. But we had somebody there from Mother Trucker Yoga who was talking about prioritizing health. Even as a truck driver, maintain your personal well-being to sustain your long-term operations. I mean, it's getting out and stretching. It's doing the things that you need to do for business. And that's anytime anybody's in business. You got to maintain your personal health and well-being to be at the office and to be doing the work that you're doing day in and day out. Hey, we're going to keep talking about things that can help you be successful as a business owner, and we're going to do that right after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by, as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for You. As an owner-operator, you already spend too much time away from your family. Stop spending time doing paperwork. Go to TruckerTaxTools.com, a solution built specifically for truckers. TruckerTaxTools.com makes your life run smoothly. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. We're talking about being successful in business. And, one of the things that we've told many business owners over the years, and I've been doing this a long time, whether you're a trucker, small businessman, owner, operator, you name it, I tell people debt is bad. Some people say, well, debt is good. It depends on what you're doing with the money and how you're investing and so forth. But as an owner or operator, as a small business person getting started, I tell people to live frugally. Keep your expenses low until your equipment, your truck, your trailer is paid off. Now, that being said, before you sign a single document, read it. Understand the numbers that are in that document. Understand the interest rate. There are a lot of people that'll sell you a truck and charge you, without batting an eye, rates equivalent to 27, 28, 30%. Ouch. That is expensive equipment at an expensive rate. Read your contract. There are some contracts out there that they just tell you, here's the total price and here's what you're going to pay, and you don't read anything else about it. You don't look at what could be my cash price if I went and financed it somewhere else versus the price that they're charging you with interest embedded in it. So even if you pay it off early, you're still paying all of that interest. Or maybe it's a lease to own, and you don't understand what the lease to own means. And there's a buyout at the end. Maybe it only is $1,000, but it's now a capital lease. You're depreciating the equipment. You're going to own it, but what was the interest rate embedded into that lease? And when we look at them and calculate them, and all of a sudden you're at 32%, you're just kind of scratching your head going, gee, did I get into that? Understand the numbers behind the lease, behind the financing, and then pay it off as quick as possible. So think of it this way. If you're making a $2,000 or $3,000 a month payment on that truck, and you don't have to make that payment anymore, that's money that can go into your reserves. That's money that can go into your pocket. That's money that goes into your personal reserves. That is money that is yours. not some finance company, not some leasing company. You get to have that truck paid off, no payments. It sometimes is a beautiful thing and can make a huge difference in your profitability and your numbers for your business. Successful owner operators are going to treat their trucks as revenue generating tools rather than just for looks. You're going to put in the time it takes behind the scenes to work and run your trucking business or your small business operations professionally. Hey, that starts getting a good bookkeeping company and a good tax company like Trucker Tax Tools. Again, go to truckertaxtools.com and you can see the different plans that we put in place. We start as low as $25 a week. I've seen some ads on Facebook that says for $200 a month, we'll just do your bookkeeping for you. When we start as low as $25 a week, that's what, 100 to 125 a month? That's half the price. That's the place you need to be. We have all-inclusive packages with bookkeeping and taxes, and those prices are a little bit more, but it includes everything that you need to run your business. It gives you the tools to do what? Figure out your fixed cost, your variable cost, your cost per mile. All those things are the things that are out there that will make sense. Have some discipline in your business. Preventive maintenance, load optimization, minimize your deadhead miles by planning on the backhauls, using high quality, whether it's lead boards or suppliers or brokers, people that that you've built a relationship with, maybe shippers. So maybe you got a shipper that is here and you know a shipper at the destination that you're taking it to or close to it. Pick up the next load and move it to wherever you're going. And maybe you're running a triangle. And you go boom, 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 home for a few days, boom, 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 home for a few days. Hey, you have built a relationship and a network that allows you to keep running successfully and hopefully at the right price. Make sure your legal compliance, ensure all your filings are current. US DOT, MC numbers, UCR, Unified Carrier Registration, your IFTA taxes, your estimated tax payments, your tax filings. All these things need to be done. I's dotted, T's crossed. OIDA is a good place, and there's some other trucking associations that might be a good place as well. Things that you want to be able to do. Set some benchmarks for yourself. Where should your gross revenue be? What is the profit margin going to be? We start looking at some of this stuff that, hey, that profit margin needs to be 20, 30%, maybe 40%. Look at your cash flows from operations, cash flows in your business. Watch your fuel cost per mile, miles per gallon. What is it costing you to run this truck each and every single mile? Make sure you're keeping your maintenance fund. So those are all the things that you need to be doing. And in business, gross revenue is important. Your cost of goods sold, your profit margin is important. Your net income is extremely important. That's what you are taking home. That is what you've earned after you've paid all your expenses. And that becomes important to you in business because it's going to be what's important when you go to refinance your next truck, maybe at a bank at a lower rate. Maybe that's what's going to be important because maybe you want to get a new house, or you need to do repairs and you need a home equity loan. those margins and that net income is extremely important. Now, we kind of play devil's advocate because, hey, here at Trucker Tax Tools, we know all the tax deductions that you can get as a owner operator and as a trucker. And being an owner operator, being a trucker, you want to find every single expense that you can. You don't want to miss expenses, as small as some of the expenses may be, like your fire extinguisher, supplies for in the truck itself. Maybe you got a new mattress or a new seat for the truck. All these things are deductible business expenses. Other supplies that you need within the truck or for the truck, even fire extinguishers. See, these little things, they all add up. But if you're self-employed, remember your tax rate starts at 15.3% of your net income and goes up from there, meaning you're going to pay Social Security and Medicare at 15.3%. And then you're going to add your federal income tax and your state income tax. So even if you're only in a 10% tax bracket for federal, you're now at almost a 25% rate. So every dollar that you can deduct legitimately as a business expense saves you money. So if you find $100, it saves you $25 in taxes. If we find 1,000, it saves you $250 at a minimum. So we're looking for every single expense and write-off you can have in your business. And that goes for any business that's out there. As a small businessman, you're looking for the write-offs. We've even talked to people that are running an LLC or S Corps or partnerships, and we say, hey, you got a board meeting. Take your board meeting and travel somewhere and have that board meeting. It's a write-off. Now, the personal things you do on that trip doesn't count. There's special rules you got to follow. Follow those rules to do there. You can lease your house to your business for 14 days, and it's the tax deductible for you and your business. And it's not reportable income because it's only 14 days. There's another way to get money out of your business: tax deductible write-offs. That's how important things can be for you and your business. It saves you a lot of money, that makes sense, that lowers your net income and lowers your taxes. So we're always looking for things and ways to be successful with a business owner mentality, regardless of the business you are running. Now remember, if you're hiring employees, it's a cost until that employee generates enough revenue for you to cover their salary. Otherwise, it's coming out as a direct expense of the business. So every time we add somebody here at Trucker Tax Tools to take care of our truckers, it's a cost that we have to absorb as a business owner until they start generating enough revenue to pay for themselves, and then enough revenue to cover all of the other expenses that are out there that we've got, and make themselves profitable within the business. A lot of information. Hey, make sure you go to taxtalk4u.com, tax talk, the number 4, the letter u.com, to see this episode again and rewatch it and re-listen so that you can gather all the information that we talked about here today. Hey, over at Trucker Tax Tools, go to truckertaxtools.com and you'll find great bookkeeping prices to run your business and help you run your business right here now. And as always, we're here on W4CY Radio every Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Don't ever miss an episode. And again, if you do, go to Tax Talk, the number 4, letter U.com, and you can find all of our episodes there. Hey, we will see you right here next week. Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, W4CY Radio. Have a God-blessed and glorious week, and we'll see you next week.
Are you an individual or business that wants to understand taxes and how they affect you? Are you looking for specific tax advice for self-employed, business owners, and truckers? Are you behind on taxes and your bookkeeping? Are you dealing with the IRS and ready to have some relief? Then you need Tax Talk for You, hosted by tax and trucker expert Barry G. Fowler, EA. Tune in 10 a.m. Eastern Time every Monday right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Don't forget to check this and past episodes at TaxTalkForYou.com. See you next week at W4CY.com.